You're listening to Del Aware. Here's Peter MacArthur.
Well, it's been a very, very long road for some these past 2 and 3 months. People out of work. I saw one interview, might have been GMA or CBS this morning, a waitress / bartender who's been laid off twice within this time frame that is the pandemic. Very, very challenging. And so this is part of the reason why we've been calling in Chris Burkhardt from Placer Staffing in Newark just to share some solid advice for people that, Chris, are in this process of trying to find their next job. I know, one of the things we've talked to is the traditional job search techniques, and maybe we need to rethink those during these tough times. And I know that you have a few new ideas for folks on that.
I sure do, Pete. And first, thanks for giving me the opportunity just to share a little bit of what we know to help people during these challenging times.
Yeah, you bet.
I think I'd like to cover a couple of things that around job search that, it's really going online. It's the internet, and the job seeker has to figure out what that means. So I've got a few points that I think your audience might enjoy. The first is a lot of times people are, doing late night searches, or they're sitting in looking on the internet for jobs in between caring for their household or whatever it is that might be. And we find that people are waiting, but if a job catches your eye, don't wait till the morning to apply. Apply right away. I think there's a good chance that with the pace of things today, that if you wait until morning, you might find your application buried, at the bottom.
Okay.
So when you see a spot you really want, apply for it right away and don't delay. One other thing that is confusing to people is there's a way to sign up for job alerts via either a text or email. And you don't want to wait last minute until you see a job list opening, but if there's a company that you really want to work for, sign up for that job alert, and an email will let you know that there's a job listing, and then you can do something about it right away. Perhaps even have your application ending up on top versus the bottom of that resume pile.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people...
Another thing when we...
I was just going to say, I guess a lot of people don't think that when you apply somewhere online, or at least put a resume in online, that there is that almost something similar to a physical pile on a desk that comes in through snail mail, that the sooner you get in, the better off you are.
I think that's usually it's a queue, if you will, or it becomes a spreadsheet of applicants. So just like anything else, those that apply first might be listed first.
Yeah.
The other one that can be confusing is most organizations post their jobs on the internet. Well, if you see a posting from February and apply to that, there's a pretty good chance that organization, that's a black hole. They might not even be working that. It might accept your resume. So it's a subtle thing, but look at new listings versus 3-week or 3-month listings. And we hear that from job seekers that they just didn't hear back. There was this void of communication. And just take a look at the dates of postings and always try and apply to the most recent one.
What else?
One thing another key point is we find that a lot of people are searching for jobs. And this is just a little bit of a mind bender, if you will. Why not pinpoint companies over jobs? It's better to target the company you'd like to become an employee for than to wait for a job. So just switching that mindset might expedite your job search and allow you to find that position that hasn't been posted on job boards. So I think that's just a good mindset thing, and that's just a good way to think about how you might differentiate.
Yeah.
Another key one, Pete, is make sure your social media is up to par or is professional. I think we'd all brag that we might be active on social media, and it's a great place to post those pictures of your kids or family, or maybe you vent, on Twitter or whatever. But we do find that many employers do look at your social media presence, and it's best to upfront sort of clean that up, or at the very least, make sure your online image is professional as possible. We have heard that during some times, and when you're really evaluating candidates, many organizations have a check, just like a lot of other checks, to make sure that someone presents well online.
Some companies can get real nervous about someone, for instance, if they start spouting political views online. They were working for someone at that point. Why would they not to do the same thing while working for us. And that's really not what this company, are about. So I could see where that would be something that would scare off potential employers, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think there's other ways and places to share your opinions and perspectives. As you're putting your best foot forward for that organization, it just probably isn't the time. Another really important one, speaking of social media, is I find that LinkedIn is really your business social media, and I believe every job seeker should have a profile on LinkedIn. It's the easiest way to showcase your skills and education and work experiences. It's the number one social media profile an employer would check out first. So making sure it's current and polished, that's really an easy one. And, of course, there's also some job search features in LinkedIn for those that are slightly more proficient.
Yeah, and the thing with LinkedIn, too, I find, is people seem to be pretty receptive to connecting. So even if you're at the ground stage of building a LinkedIn profile, you can build one up relatively quickly with, as you mentioned, people that could be contacts down the line that you're not really aware of yet.
Oh, Pete, when I have an appointment with someone, I don't think I'm unique. I go look at their LinkedIn profile just to get a picture of who I'm going to be talking with. So imagine it's very much the same for a job seeker. You're just looking to make sure that a resume is aligned with how you present yourself with that profile. I might learn a few other things that might help me, come up with good questions.
Yeah.
So it's just part of the research that human resources professionals do to get ready to evaluate you.
Chris, let's talk workforce and workplace reality. So here we are, we're hearing about some new jobs opening up. And at the same time, we're dealing with a resurgence in COVID in a lot of spots. How do we work that balance exactly?
Well, I think understanding the workforce and workplace realities is so useful to a job seeker. And right now, it is incredibly confusing. We spend a lot of our time sort of evaluating this. And right now, a job seeker's greatest challenge is that worker demand is shifting. It's not diminishing. It's just sliding sideways. So for some, partially or permanent layoffs. And that's an interesting challenge. And the other thing is that many businesses are suffering from lower customer demand right now. And that's not all companies, but based on that, in your job search, you've got to understand if your target industry or company has had to make some adjustments, or maybe they're being impacted by the demand for their services now and making staffing adjustments. So if there's any good news, I do find that current layoffs are being offset by new hiring and worker recalls. So I don't want to say that we're on a treadmill. I think it's improving a touch beyond that, but I think there's just some optimism in that. Now, the reality is there's 15 million people that are out of work.
Yeah.
It's come way down, and this rebound in jobs has been swift, and the evidence suggests that the market will grow just more slowly right now. But one interesting thing to think about is only 3 out of 10 jobs have come back. Only 3 out of 10. So we have a long way to go. And I feel that a job seeker just needs to adapt maybe a bit more flexibility. Maybe they take into account some short-term goals about, just getting bills paid and making ends meet, or just be prepared for a longer job search if they're going to stick it out for that perfect job.
Yeah, maybe your next job's not your permanent job, but it is a position, and maybe that's one way to go. And as you say, kind of keeping an eye on these trends we're seeing, well worth someone's time, whether it's something you've ever followed before. Right now, you'd be well served to kind of get a feeling for what's going on in the marketplace, where there's demand, where there's not demand. So I'm guessing this, Chris, there are people listening going, I'd love to get inside that guy's head. Yours, not mine. And while they can't do that one-on-one necessarily, where can they find out some more info about Placers and some of the things you might have to offer there?
So myplacers.com comes up in any search with any search engine. I think we've got a website where our goal is to put up information if you're the type that just wants to consume it on your own.
Yeah.
If you put Placers Active Kindness, we've got a very simple form if you want to talk to us. But quite frankly, if you know me, Pete, and you're getting to know me, if anybody calls and wants to talk to me, I'll take their call.
Sounds good. Thank you for taking our call today, Chris. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Chris Burkhardt, Placer Staffing in Newark, joining us here on Delaware.